Yes, good morning to all of you. I am Dr. Bhavna Tandon, Associate Professor in ECE Department of Chandigarh Engineering College, Landra, Mohali. The topic of discussion for today is time domain analysis in control system. So we start with the time domain analysis. So we discuss what is time domain analysis. Actually, our main motive is to find the dynamic response of any control system. Now, what is dynamic? Dynamic means variable. So, dynamic response means how the output of the control system varies with respect to time for different values of input. So, for finding the dynamic response of the system or for doing the time domain analysis, we have to brush up our certain concepts. So, we start with the definition of time domain analysis. In time domain analysis, the response of a dynamic system to an input is expressed as a function of time. It is possible to compute the time response of a system if the nature of input and mathematical model of the system are known. For finding out the time response, we must know the mathematical model of a control system. Now, what is mathematical modeling? Mathematical modeling means we can explain the dynamics of any system with the help of some set of differential equations. For example, if we talk about electrical system, we can model an electrical system by using the basic laws like KVL or KCL, like Kirchhoff's voltage law, Kirchhoff's current law. And for mechanical system, for translation mechanical system, if we talk about translational mechanical system, we can do the mathematical modeling of the translational mechanical system with the help of Newton's law of force. So using some basic laws, we can write some set of differential equation that can explain the dynamics of the system. Okay. So it is possible to compute the time response if the nature of the input and the mathematical model of the system are completely known. Usually the input signals to the control systems are not known fully ahead of time. So we'll consider some test signals for finding out the dynamic response of the system. Test signals like unit step input, unit impulse input, or we can say ramp input, we can say a parabolic input, we can say a sinusoidal input. So we can have some test inputs to test about or to study about the dynamic response or time response analysis of any control system. It is therefore difficult to express the actual input signals mathematical by simple equations. Now, what are the standard test signals? As I have already told you, standard test signals we can take as step signal, or we can say a step signal may be known as sudden change, or it may be a sudden shock like a impulse signal, or it may be a constant velocity yani ramp signal, or it may be a constant acceleration curve yani a parabolic signal. So the dynamic behavior of a system is therefore judged and compared under application of standard test signals: an impulse, a step, a constant velocity and a constant acceleration. The other standard signals of great importance is a sinusoidal signal. So these are some standard test signals. So we start with by explaining the standard test signals. We start with the impulse signal. This is a diagram of an impulse signal. Impulse signal is represented by delta t. Delta t is written as equal to a at time t is equal to 0, and it is equal to 0 for time t not equal to 0. So this is the mathematical equation of any impulse signal. If a is equal to a is equal to 1, the impulse signal is called as the unit impulse signal. So impulse signal may be like a sudden shock to the system. It comes and it goes at time t is equal to 0. Now we talk about the step signal. This is the graph of a step signal. A step signal is represented by ut, and ut can be written as equal to capital A for t greater than equal to 0, and it is equal to 0 for t less than 0. So it is defined by this red curve as shown in the figure. So the magnitude of step signal is represented by A for time t greater than equal to 0, and it is equal to 0 for time t less than 0. If A is equal to 1, the step signal is known as unit step signal. So it is like a sudden change in the system. If we talk about ramp signal is just like a constant velocity characteristics of actual input signal. It is shown by this figure. It is represented by RT, and if we explain by a mathematical expression, RT can be written as AT for t greater than equal to 0, and it is equal to 0 for t less than 0. So these are different type of ramp signals based upon the slope of the signal. So these are different type of ramp signal. This is the ramp signal with slope A, and this is a unit ramp signal with a slope equal to 1. So if A is equal to 1, it is known as unit ramp signal. Next is the parabolic signal. It is represented by PT. PT versus T is drawn here. So it is the parabolic signal. Parabolic signal is represented by AT square by 2 for t greater than equal to 0, and it is equal to 0 for t less than 0. We can take t square also as a parabolic signal. So at square by 2, if we take this, then if we differentiate it or if we integrate it, it will be a whole term. So we will take only at square by 2 here. If a is equal to 1, the parabolic signal is known as unit parabolic signal. So these are different types of parabolic signal based upon the values of a. So parabolic signal is a constant acceleration signal. Next, what is the relationship between these standard test signals? We start from impulse, then step, then ramp, then parabolic. Impulse is represented by delta t, as we have already told you. Ut is represents the step signal, Rt represents the ramp signal, and Pt represents the parabolic signal. Now, what is the relationship between these signals? If we integrate an impulse signal, we will get a step. If we integrate a step signal, we will get a ramp, and if we integrate a ramp signal, we get a parabolic signal. Similar reverse is also true. If we differentiate a parabolic signal, we will get a ramp. If we differentiate a ramp signal, we will get a step, and if we differentiate a step signal, we will get a impulse signal. So this is the relationship between these standard test signals. Now we talk about the Laplace transform of test signals, because whatever we are doing during the analysis of time response analysis of control system, that is all done in the S domain, because there is certain advantages of using the Laplace transform, because Laplace transform converts the integral differential equation into simple algebraic equation in terms of the Laplace operator small s. So that's why we always prefer to use Laplace transform for solving the differential equations that were written while doing the mathematical modeling of any control system. So Laplace transform of test signals, if we talk about the Laplace transform, if we take the Laplace transform of impulse signal, it will be equal to A. Or if we talk about the unit impulse signal, the Laplace transform of unit impulse signal will be equal to 1. If we talk about step signal, the Laplace transform of step signal according to the formula of Laplace transform is A by S. If we talk about the unit step signal, the Laplace transform of unit step signal will be equal to 1 by S. Similarly, if we talk about ramp signal, if we take the Laplace transform of ramp signal, it will come out to be A by S square by using the formula of Laplace transform of t raised to power n. What is Laplace transform of t raised to power n? It is equal to n factorial divided by s raised to power n plus 1. I can write it like this. So Laplace transform of t raised to power n can be written as n factorial divided by s raised to power n plus 1. By using this formula, we can have the Laplace transform of ramp signal to be equal to A by S square. And if we talk about unit ramp signal, the Laplace transform will come out to be equal to 1 by S square. Similarly, for parabolic signal, we have the Laplace transform of parabolic signal to be equal to A by S cube. And if A is equal to 1, it is a unit parabolic signal. So these are some test signals and their Laplace transform. Now what is time response of control system? Now we start finding out the dynamic behavior or time response of control system by using these test signals, by considering these test signals as the input. So if we have a system, we take some input and we plot the output with respect to time, that is known as time response of system in simple language. So time response of a dynamic system is to an input expressed as a function of time. The time response of any system has two components, transient response and steady state response. Now what is transient and steady state response? If we plot the curve of output versus t, we can get this type of response. And whenever the response is varying, that is known as transient part. And when the response becomes steady at a constant value, it is known as a steady state behavior. So for this part, as shown in this figure, this is the transient response. And when this output settles down to the input at a steady value, it is known as steady state response. So we have two parts of time response, that is transient response and steady state response. Now transient response depend upon the system poles only and not on the type of input. Now what are poles? Poles is when we find out the transfer function of any control system, the denominator, the roots of the denominator, that defines the number of poles of the system. So transient response depend upon the system poles only and not on the type of inputs. It is therefore sufficient to analyze the transient response using a step input. The steady state response depends upon the system dynamics and the input quantity. It is then examined using different test signals by final value theorem of Laplace transform. We know the initial value and final value theorem of Laplace transform. How we implement the final value of Laplace transform in finding out the steady state response, we will discuss with the help of example. Now we take a first order system. As I have already told you, now what is order of a system? Order of a system is the highest power of s in the denominator of the transfer function of the control system. We find the transfer function of the control system. Now what is transfer function? Transfer function is the ratio of Laplace transform of output to the Laplace transform of input. So if we find the transfer function to be Cs by Rs, it is the denominator of the transfer function. Denominator is the highest power of s in the denominator of transfer function is 1. So the order of system is here 1. If the order of the system is 1, we have only one pole, because the roots of the denominator is known as poles of the system and the roots of the numerator is known as zeros of the system. So the first order system has only one pole. So we take a standard first order system having the transfer function to be equal to Cs by Rs to be equal to K by Ts plus 1. So we'll consider this example and we'll find the dynamic response of a first order system with by applying some standard test signals. So what is this K? K is known as gain. Okay, K is gain, and what is capital T? Capital T is known as time constant of the system. We will define the term time constant now. Time constant is a measure of how quickly a first order system responds to a unit step input. So time constant decides the speeds of the control system. How quickly the output tracks the set point. That is the time response of the system. DC gain of the system is the ratio between the input signal and the steady state value of the output. So this is known as, K is known as gain of the system. Now we take this first order system as an example. In this example, we have gain of 10 and we have time constant of 3 seconds. So for this system, this shown system, we have gain of 3 by 5 and time constant of 1 by 5. Now consider this following first order system having the transfer function to be equal to K by Ts plus 1. Now we are applying different types of test inputs to this system and we will plot the output with respect to time. So we study the time response of this system. So firstly we will consider the input to be equal to unit step. As I have already told you, unit impulse signal is represented by delta t, and for unit impulse signal the Laplace transform of unit impulse is equal to 1. So Cs is equal to, Cs upon Rs is the transfer function of this system. Cs upon Rs in this case is K by St plus 1, but Rs is equal to 1, so Cs will be equal to K by St plus 1 only. Okay, so we put the value of Rs to be equal to 1. Now if we get Cs to be equal to K by St plus 1, this is the output of the system, but we have to find the time response. Time response means how the output varies with respect to time. So we have to find Ct. Okay. For finding the Ct from Cs, we have to take the inverse Laplace transform of this Cs. So for taking the inverse Laplace transform of this Cs, we will divide numerator and denominator by capital T. So by dividing numerator and denominator by capital T, you will get K by T divided by S plus 1 by T here. Now for taking the inverse Laplace of this formula, K by T is the constant, so 1 by S plus A. That formula will be used for finding out the inverse Laplace. Now what is 1 by S plus A? If we take the inverse Laplace of 1 by S plus A, what is the formula? We all know. This is equal to e raised to power minus at. So by using this formula, we can find the inverse Laplace of 1 by S plus 1 by t. So K by T is constant, we will take it outside. And what is the inverse Laplace of 1 by S plus 1 by t? It will be equal to e raised to power minus t upon capital T. Capital T is the time constant of the system and small t is the time. Now if we plot the impulse response of this first order system, Ct versus t, it will be, this curve will be like this. Exponentially decaying type of curve is there. K is equal to 3 here and t is equal to 2 seconds for plotting this curve. We are taking the examples by taking K equal to 3 and t, capital T time constant to be equal to 2 seconds. Now we consider again that first order system and we'll discuss the response of that first order system with unit step input. For unit step input, as we have already discussed, the Laplace transform of unit step signal is 1 by S. Okay, so if we put Rs to be equal to 1 by S, we know Cs by Rs is equal to K by St plus 1. So if we put Rs to be equal to 1 by S, Cs will come out to be K by S into St plus 1. So now we find out Cs. For finding out the time response, obviously we have to again find out the value of Ct, how the output varies with respect to time. For finding out the Ct, we have to take the inverse Laplace, and for taking out the inverse Laplace, we have to find the partial fractions, because denominator is having two terms. s and st plus 1. So we have to first taking the partial fraction of this cs. So if we take the partial fraction, we have come out with cs to be equal to k by s minus kt by st plus 1. So I hope you all know how to find the partial fraction of any transfer function. So we have k by s minus kt divided by st plus 1. So when we find out the partial fraction, we get cs to be equal to this. Now taking the inverse Laplace, if we take the inverse Laplace, we will get ct. This is our aim. To find the time response, we have to find the value of ct. How the output C varies with respect to time. So k is constant here, and 1 by s, its inverse Laplace is a unit step signal, and that is represented by ut, and t by st plus 1. In this, for finding out the inverse Laplace of this, we will again divide the numerator and denominator by capital T, and then we will find the inverse Laplace by using this formula again that is written here. The inverse Laplace of 1 by s plus a is equal to e raised to power minus at. So by using this formula, we can find the inverse Laplace of this term. So we'll get the time response to be equal to kt. Ct is equal to k into 1 minus e raised to power minus t by t if we take ut is equal to 1. Now we define the term time constant here. If we put small t equal to capital T in this expression, if we put small t equal to capital T, this term will become e raised to power minus 1. And if we put the value of e raised to power minus 1, that is 1 by e here, we will get the value of Ct to be equal to 0.632 into k. So from this expression, we can define the time constant here, because definition of time constant of a system is very important. So for defining the time constant, we will take random values here. For k, if we take k is equal to 10, means if we take k is equal to gain equal to 10, and if we take the time constant to be equal to 1 by 5s, and if we plot the output response of this first order system for unit step input, this plot will be like this. So this is the time constant of the system. Time constant of the system may be defined as that time in which the response reaches 63.2% of the final value. How this 63.2 comes? From here. If the response reaches 63.2% of the final value k, because k is the final value here, because k is the ultimate gain. So the time constant of a system is defined as that time in which the system reaches to 63.2% of its final value. So 63.2% of this final value is reached in 1.5 seconds. That's why this system is having the time constant of 1.5 seconds. And the final value, ultimate value is settled down, the curve is settling down at the value of 10, because gain of the DC gain of the system is equal to 10. So this is the physical signification of gain and time constant. So time constant decides the speed of the system, how quickly the output will reach or settle down to its steady state value. And steady state value is the k value. Why steady state value is k here? Because if we steady state value we can find out by putting time t tending to infinity. So if we put time t tending to infinity here, we get the value of Ct to be equal to k. So that is the steady state behaviors, steady state value. Steady state value is that value, the ultimate value at which the output reaches at time t tending to infinity. So k is the steady state value and 1.5 second is the time constant of this system. So it can be explained with the help of this graph. Now system takes 5 time constants to reach its final value. So this is the graph showing the system takes 5 into time constant t to reach its final value, that is the steady state response. Now these are the different graphs shown for different values of time constant 1, 3, 5, 7, and by taking a constant value of DC gain to be equal to 10. DC gain in this all the curves will be same, that is 10. The system ultimately reach to the value 10 and settles down there, that is the steady state value, but time constants are different. As we can show by blue curve, it is having the time constant 1 second, and this light blue curve, sky blue curve, we have time constant to be equal to 7 seconds. So the lesser will be the time constant, more quickly the curve will settle down to the steady state value. So this is the physical significance of time constant. So the time constant must be lesser, so as the speed of the control system is good. So the t equal to 1 second, the system reaches the steady state value at 1 second. This is 1 second value approximate. Now this is the graph that is shown at constant value of time constant, that is equal to t is equal to 1 second, but different values of k, that is the steady state value will be changed, but the time constant will remain same. So time constant here is 1 second for all the curves. All the curves are settling to its steady state value at 1 second. but steady state value is differentiated between these two between these all curves. K equal to 10 for this, K equal to 5 for this, K equal to 3 for this, and K equal to 1 for this. So this is the time step response of first order system. Now what is the relationship between step and impulse response? As I have already told you, when you integrate an impulse signal, you will get the step signal. Similarly, if you integrate the impulse response, you will get the step response of any first order system. So step response of first order system is this. If we differentiate it, we will get the impulse response. So we will differentiate both sides. dCt by dt comes out to be equal to k by t into e raised to power minus t by t, and this is known as impulse response of the system. Now ramp response of the system. So now we will take the third input, that is the ramp input. If we apply a unit ramp input to a first order system, how the system behaves, how the output varies with respect to time, that we will discuss in this lecture. So Rs is equal to 1 by s square for unit ramp. So if we put Rs to be equal to 1 by s, we will get Cs to be equal to k by s square into st plus 1. Obviously again the denominator is having two terms of s, so before finding the inverse Laplace of both the sides, we have to do the partial fraction. So when we do the partial fraction and find the inverse Laplace, we get the ultimate Ct value to be equal to k into small t minus capital T plus t into e raised to power minus t by t. This is the time response of this first order system when subjected to a unit ramp input. Now practical determination of transfer function of first order system. Often it is not possible or practical to obtain a system transfer function analytically. So perhaps the system is closed and the component parts are not easily identifiable. So the system step response can lead to the representation even though the inner construction is not known. So with the step input we can measure the time constant and the steady state value, और वहाँ से we can find out the transfer function of the system. So we can also determine transfer function of the system if we know the value of the gain and the time constant of the system. So if we can identify T and K empirically, we can obtain the transfer function of the system, Cs by Rs to be equal to K by St plus 1. Now this is the practical determination of transfer function. As I have already told you, if we know the value of time constant to be equal to 0.13 second, and if we know the value of DC gain or the steady state value of the system k to be equal to 0.72, we can put the formula and we can find out the transfer function of the system. Now first order system with a 0. In the previous system we have only taken the pole because we have only s term in the denominator, because the roots of the denominator is known as pole of the system and roots of the numerator is known as zeros of the system. So we are considering a 0 here also. 1 plus alpha s, we have taken the term in the numerator. If 1 plus alpha is added in the numerator, we have 0 at s is equal to minus 1 by alpha. So we have 1 0 here, that is at minus 1 by alpha, and pole at minus 1 by t. So if we find the time response or step response of the system, we have Ct to be equal to this by the same steps as we have already discussed. So we can find the value of Ct by first knowing about Cs, then we take the partial fraction and then we take the inverse Laplace. We can calculate this value Ct to be equal to this. So now first order system with delays, we can have a delay in the system also. So delay is represented by the term e raised to power minus std here. Td is the time delay in the system. So delay is always represented like this in the system. Td is the delay time. So if we find out the transfer function of a delay first order system with delay, Cs by Rs to be equal to k by st plus 1 e raised to power minus std, and if we plot this time response by again finding the inverse Laplace and doing partial fraction. So if we plot the time response of the system with delay, we have this Td delay at the starting of this step response. This is the time delay in the system. So this is the plot of first order system with time delay when subjected to unit step input. This is again first order system with delay for different value of time delay. Here Td we have taken to be equal to 2 seconds, and capital T time constant is taken as 3 seconds. Time constant again is defined as the time in which the response reaches 63.2% of the final value. So we can also find out the time response of any first order system with delay. So if we take Cs by Rs to be equal to 10 by 3s plus 1 e raised to power minus 2ds, 2s. So 2 is equal to Td here. 2 is equal to 2 seconds is the time delay in the system. So if we take the inverse Laplace of this both sides, we can get the value of Ct from here. And if we plot Ct, this will be like this. So this is the time delay that is incorporated at the start of the response. Now we talk about second order system. Second order system is that system in which the highest power of s in the transfer function of any system is equal to 2. Okay, denominator में जो s की highest power है that is defines the order of the system. So अगर transfer function के denominator में s की highest power 2 है, it will be known as the second order system. So we have already discussed the effect of location of poles and zeros on the transient response of first order system. Compared to the simplicity, a second order system exhibits a wide range of responses that must be analyzed and described. So we'll discuss about the response of second order system now. This is the general second order system we have taken. This is the transfer function of the forward path represented by omega n square divided by s into s plus 2 zeta omega n. Omega n is the natural frequency of oscillations and zeta is the damping coefficient. Es is the error, Rs is the input of the system and Cs is the output, and it is a unity feedback here. So if we find out the transfer function of this system by taking the same formula Cs by Rs to be equal to G divided by 1 plus Gh. Okay, so if we put G to be equal to this forward path transfer function and H to be equal to 1, we can find out Cs by Rs to be equal to omega n square divided by s square plus 2 zeta omega n plus omega n square. So this is the transfer function of the second order system. Now we have to define the time response or the dynamic response of this second order system when subjected to unit step input. Unit step input means we have to take Rs to be equal to 1 by s because unit step input ka Laplace transform is 1 by s. So we'll discuss how C varies with respect to time when subjected to a unit step input. Now we take the example here, Cs by Rs to be equal to 4 by s square plus 2s plus 4. If this is a second order system, how will you find out the value of zeta and omega n from here? So we will compare this transfer function with the general second order transfer function. So if we compare the numerator, we will get omega n square to be equal to 4. So omega n square equal to 4 means omega n is equal to 2. It is 2 radian per second. It should be 2 radian per second. Don't forget to write the units. So omega n is equal to 2 radian per second. And if we compare the denominator and the second term of denominator, 2 zeta omega n is equal to 2 here. And we know the value of omega n. So put the value of omega n here. We will get the value of zeta to be equal to 0.5. So zeta is equal to 0.5. Zeta is equal to 0.5 means it is under damped response. Because depending upon the values of zeta, we can differentiate the system response to be equal to under damped or undamped or over damped. So we will discuss later on. So zeta is equal to 0.5. So we can find the value of omega n and zeta by comparing this transfer function with the general second order transfer function. So if this is the transfer function of a second order system, the system will have two poles. How we find the poles? We can find out the poles by finding out the roots of the denominator. The denominator is s square plus 2 zeta omega n s plus omega n square, and if we find the roots of this quadratic equation, we will get two poles. Two poles are at minus zeta omega n plus omega n zeta square minus 1 under the root, and another pole is minus zeta omega n minus omega n under the root zeta square minus 1. So these are the two poles. If we plot the poles on the s plane, okay, if we plot the poles according to the value of zeta, the second order system can be set into one of the four categories. First is the overdamped case. In overdamped case, we have two real distinct poles, and overdamped case exists when zeta is greater than 1. So for zeta greater than 1, we have two real and distinct poles. If we plot it on the s plane, we know what is s. S is equal to delta plus j omega. This is the real axis and this is the imaginary axis, and if we plot the poles like minus a and minus b and they are real and distinct, that means it is a example of overdamped case for zeta greater than 1. Then underdamped case, in underdamped case we have zeta less than 1 and zeta lies between 0 and 1 value. The system will have two complex conjugate poles. This is represented by this s plane. Then the third case is undamped case. Undamped case, for undamped case zeta is equal to 0. If we put zeta equal to 0 in the poles, we will get two poles at the imaginary axis. This is the condition of marginal stability. We will discuss later on in the lecture of stability of the control system. So for zeta equal to 0, the poles are represented on this imaginary axis. Now for critically damped case, zeta is equal to 1 and the system will have two real but equal poles. So equal poles are represented at minus a. At minus a, we will have two poles, they are equal. For this is the case for zeta is equal to 1. Now for underdamped case, if we plot Ct versus t for a unit step input, the response will be like this. For this response, we will now explain certain timing characteristics. Certain definitions are there, very important definitions that are related to the second order system response when subjected to a unit step input. So if we plot Ct versus t, it will be like this, and for this we will define delay time, we will define rise time, peak time, maximum overshoot and settling time. These are the time response specifications we can say for a second order system. So if we start with rise time, this Tr is represented by rise time here. This is Tr. Tr is this time. This time when first time the output response touches the unit step input. This first time when the output response touches this unit step input, this time is known as rise time. The first time, the highest peak of the output, the time at which this highest peak occurs, this is known as your peak time. And what is this highest peak? Above 1. The magnitude of the highest peak above 1, it is known as maximum overshoot as represented by MP. MP is the maximum overshoot, TR is the rise time, TP is the peak time, and TS is the settling time. TS is the settling time. Settling time is known as that time in which the response settles down within plus minus 2% or plus minus 5% of the final value. So this is the settling time. So these are the time response specifications of a underdamped case when zeta less than 1 for a second order system when subjected to unit step input. This is delay time. We have already discussed for first order system. Delay time means the TD is the time required for the response to reach half the final value of the very first time. It is defined as the delay time for the second order system. This is rise time. Already explained you for the very first time when the output response reaches the desired value, that is the unit step input. Unit step input is the desired value in this case because we are taking the input to be equal to unit step. We are taking RS to be equal to unit step, and RS is nothing but the set point. So when the output reaches first time the set point, that is known as your rise time. So it is TR. The peak time is the time required for the response to reach the first time of the overshoot. The highest peak, when the output response reaches to the highest value, that time is known as peak time. Maximum overshoot, I have already explained you that maximum overshoot is the maximum peak value of the response curve measured from the unity. So above unity, this above unity जो highest peak है, इसके magnitude that is represented by MP. And if we taken as in percentage, the maximum percent overshoot is defined as CTP, means the value of output at time TP minus C infinity means the steady state value divided by C infinity multiplied by 100%. This is how we can find the maximum overshoot in percentage. This is settling time. I have already explained you settling time is the time in which the output response settles down within plus minus 2% or plus minus 5% of the final value, and final value is nothing but 1 because we have applied unit step input in this case. So now if we find out the step response of underdamped case, again the steps will be same as that we did in the first order system. So we have Cs upon Rs to be equal to omega n square by s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square for a second order system. And if we have to find the step response, that means we are applying the input to be unit step input. That means Rs is equal to 1 by s. So if we put Rs is equal to 1 by s here, so Cs will come out to be omega n square divided by s into s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. So again we have to find out Ct. For finding out Ct, we have to find out inverse Laplace, and for finding out the inverse Laplace, we have to first take the partial fraction of this Cs. So if we take the partial fraction of Cs, we will have this value. Okay, we do certain manipulations in this so as to make the inverse Laplace easier. So these manipulations are shown in this slide. We have also put a value here. We put omega d square to be equal to omega n square into 1 minus zeta square. Omega d is the frequency of damped oscillations. So omega d we put here. Omega n square 1 minus zeta square is written as omega d square here. So if we put this and do certain manipulations, we can find out Cs value here. If we find out Cs, if we do partial fraction, we can find out Cs to be equal to this. Once we have derived the partial fractions, we put omega d is equal to omega n 1 minus zeta square under the root damped natural frequency and take the inverse Laplace, we can get the Ct. Ct means we can get the time response of the second order system when subjected to unit step input. So by doing certain manipulations in this derivation, we can find out Ct to be equal to 1 minus e raised to power minus zeta omega nt cos omega dt minus zeta divided by 1 minus zeta square under the root e raised to power minus zeta omega nt sin omega dt. So this will be the response. and if we again apply the formula, we can get this Ct to be equal to this. This is the final time response of a second order underdamped system when we consider zeta to be less than 1 when subjected to unit step input. So this is the final time response. So omega d, we have to remember this, ki omega d is equal to omega n1 minus zeta square under the root, and for undamped case, when zeta is equal to 0, if we put zeta equal to 0, omega d is equal to omega n, and Ct will be equal to 1 minus cos omega nt if we put the value of zeta 0 in this expression. So we can put the value of zeta in this expression as zeta equal to 0, zeta equal to 1, and we can find the time response for different cases. So if we plot the time response for zeta 0.1 and omega n equal to 3, it will be like this. So it will be like underdamped case, obviously. Underdamped means the oscillations are damped out, decreasing with respect to time. So this is the damped out oscillations. Obviously zeta is equal to 0.1, so the value is lesser than 1, that's why that is damping out with respect to time. And this is our ideal case. Our ideal case is when the oscillations damped out and the output finally settles down to the steady state value or the input, that is our desired response. This is the step response for zeta is equal to 0.5 and omega n equal to 3. So we are seeing that if we increase the value of zeta is equal to 0.5, the oscillations are less. Zeta is equal to 0.9 and omega n equal to 3. As we reaches the value of zeta to be equal to 1, the curve will become flat. Oscillations will decreasing. So this is the 3D view of the step response of underdamped system. Now what is steady state error? Steady state error is again a very important concept in control system. What is steady state error? If the output of control system at steady state does not exactly match with the input, the system is said to have steady state error. Actually the main motive of designing a control system is to reduce the steady state error to be equal to completely 0. But if the steady state error occurs, steady state error means the error occurs at time t tending to infinity, that is known as steady state error. So if the output of the control system at steady state does not exactly match with the input or set point, we can say, the system is said to have the steady state error. Any physical control system inherently suffers the steady state error in response to certain type of input. Certain type of input अगर हम system पे लगाएं for certain types of input. Now we will define another term here, that is type of control system. Firstly we discuss about the order of the control system. Now we will discuss about the type of the control system. A system may have no steady state error to a step input, but the same system may exhibit non-zero steady state error to a ramp input. So how a system of different type behaves to a different type of input, that we will discuss, and what will be the steady state error in all cases. So classification of control system. Control system may be classified according to their ability to follow the step input, ramp input, parabolic inputs, and so on. The magnitude of steady state error due to these individual inputs are indicative of the goodness of the system. Goodness means accuracy of the system. The lesser will be the steady state error, the more accurate or more good the control system will be. Now we will consider the unity feedback control system with the following open loop transfer function. Now we are again defining an important term here, that is open loop transfer function. One is closed loop transfer function, and that is represented by Cs by Rs to be equal to G divided by 1 plus Gh. And what is open loop transfer function? Open loop transfer function is defined as Gs into Hs. And the general expression for Gs dot Hs is equal to this. And for a unity feedback control system, we have Gs equal to 1. So we can write Hs equal to 1 for a unity feedback control system. So we can write Gs to be equal to this. So if we see this expression, what is this capital N? This capital N is known as type of the system. Okay, the type of the system may be defined as the open loop poles at origin. I am defining the open loop poles at origin. Okay, the number of open loop poles lying at the origin is known as type of the system. So capital N here is the type of the system. K is the gain of the system. Minus 1 by Ta, minus 1 by Tb, minus 1 by Tm. These are the open loop zeros. Minus 1 by T1, minus 1 by T2, minus 1 by Tp. These are the open loop poles. Now as the number is increased, the accuracy is improved. However, increasing the type number aggravates the stability problem, that we will discuss with the help of example. Now we consider this simple system having the forward part transfer function to be Gs and feedback part transfer function Hs to be equal to 1. So it is a unity feedback control system. So if we have the transfer function Cs by Rs, it is written as G divided by 1 plus Gs. This is the closed loop transfer function, and this is the open loop transfer function Gs dot Hs. Because Hs is equal to 1, so we can write the open loop transfer function simply to be equal to Gs. So this will be Gs. Now if we define error, steady state error is defined as the error between the input and the output at t tending to infinity, because steady state means at t tending to infinity. So if we define the error between set point and the measured value at time t tending to infinity, that is known as steady state error. And the main motive of designing a control system is set point tracking. That means the steady state error must be equal to 0. So if we find out the expression of Es upon Rs, it will come out to be 1 by 1 plus Gs. So Es is equal to 1 by 1 plus Gs into Rs. So we can derive the steady state error for different type of system and for different inputs like unit step, unit ramp, with the help of this expression. Now, as I have already told you, steady state error is represented by ESS, and it is find out by putting time t tending to infinity. If we put limit time t tending to infinity in ET, then we can find out steady state error. Now what is ET? ET is the error in time domain. And what is ET here? If we put ET here, ET can be putting as S into ES by using this final value theorem. We are using final value of Laplace transform, final value theorem of Laplace transform here. If we apply here, we can find out ESS steady state error to be equal to limit S tending to 0 SRS divided by 1 plus GS. Now static error constants. The static error constants are figure of merits of control system. The higher the constants, the smaller is the steady state error, and smaller is the steady state error, the more accurate the system will be. That is our motive of control system designing. Now this is static position error constant. We have three static error constant. We have static position error constant, we have velocity error constant, and we have acceleration error constant. So what is position error constant? It is represented as Kp. So in the steady state error expression, if we put Rs to be equal to 1 by S, yani ki for unit step input, because this position error constant occurs when we put the input to be equal to unit step input. So if we put Rs to be equal to 1 by S here, this SS will be cancelled out. And if we put the limit S tending to 0 here, we will get the steady state error to be equal to 1 by 1 plus G naught. So the static position error coefficient is defined as limit S tending to 0 GSHS. So GS here is G naught. So what will be steady state error? It is equal to 1 by 1 plus Kp, where Kp is the position error constant here. Similarly, we can have the we can find the value of position error coefficient for type 0 system, type 1 system. For type 0 system, we have S raised to power 0 here and S raised to power is 1. So we have no term of S raised to power here in the denominator for type 0. For type 1 system, this capital N is equal to 1. So we will take only the S here. So if we taken the type 0, type 1 values and find the value of Kp, then it will come out to be equal to K infinity. Okay, so steady state error for a unit step input, the steady state error will come out to be equal to 0 for type 0 system. Similarly, we can define Kv here. This velocity error constant Kv occurs when the input is your unit ramp input, because for unit step input, the static position error constant occurs. For unit ramp input, the static velocity error constant occurs. So we put Rs to be equal to 1 by S square here. So for when we put Rs to be equal to 1 by S square, with the same steps, we can find out the value of Kv, and ESS is finding out to be equal to 1 by Kv. So the steady state error of a system is defined as equal to 1 by Kv. So we will define the static velocity error constant Kv for type 0, type 1 system we can find out by using the formula. So Kv for type 2 or higher systems, we have Kv to be equal to infinity. So for a ramp input, if we find the value of steady state error ESS, it will come out to be equal to infinity for type 0 system. ESS is equal to 1 by K, yani a definite value, constant value for type 1 system, and ESS is equal to completely 0 for type 2 system. That means this ramp input is suited to the type 2 or higher systems, because for type 2 or higher systems, if we apply the unit ramp input, we get the ESS to be equal to completely 0. But if for type 1 system we apply the unit ramp input, we have a definite error to be equal to, always a certain error equal to 1 by K will exist in the system. And if we apply unit ramp to a type 0 system, it will be infinity. So too much of error exists in the system. So ramp signal does not suit to a type 0 system. Similarly, the third and last coefficient is static acceleration error constant, and that is represented by Ka. It occurs when we apply the unit parabolic input to a control system. For a unit parabolic input, we take Rs to be equal to 1 by S square. So, if we define Ka, then ESS will come out to be equal to 1 by K. So, again we will derive the value of Ka for type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3 and higher systems. And if we take the values, for type 0 system, if we apply the unit parabolic input, the Ka value will be equal to 0. Type 1 system, the Ka value equal to again 0. For type 2 system, Ka value comes out to be equal to K. And for type 3 system, Ka value comes out to be infinity. So if we find out the errors will become reverse. For type 0 and type 1, the error will become infinity. So unit parabolic input does not suits at all to a your system. So ESS is equal to infinity for type 0 and type 1 system. So ESS is equal to 1 by K. A definite value of error exists, always exists when you apply unit ramp input to a type 2 system. For type 3 and higher system, the error will be completely 0. So the unit ramp input suits better to this type 3 and higher systems. This is a summary as we have already discussed. Ki type 0 pe, if we apply step input, we get the error, a definite error that is equal to 1 by 1 plus K. Type 1 system pe, if we apply step input, we get the error to be completely 0. For type 2 system, if we apply step input, we will get error to be completely 0. If we see the columns, step input is suited to all of these type systems, type 0, type 1, type 2 and even higher systems. So these are some examples. We can find out the values by using the same formulas for the static position, velocity and acceleration error coefficients. This is all for today. Thank you so much.